All right, so you finished chapter one, you finished introduction. Welcome to chapter two. This chapter is all about asking yourself the hard questions. Okay, we've attached a scorecard in there for you. This will give you a nice gauge on where you currently sit. Now, oftentimes we overestimate what we can do with a short amount of time and underestimate what we can do in a long amount of time. And a lot of the times we just stay blasé to the fact that we might not be on track at all. So starting with that scorecard is a really good, blunt, in your face way to understand where you sit, because we've got a scoring system in there. And, most people will sit under 30 out of 45 on that. And any one of those three sections, if you're not over 30, let me make it clear that scorecard is pretty much just enough to have your foundation sorted, meaning you won't get in, you'll stay out of trouble for your financial life. It still doesn't mean it's the best it can be. It's just where everyone needs to be as a basic necessity to be safe. And most people end up answering between 10 to 20 out of 45. And that's quite scary. But unfortunately, that is the landscape of Australian financial literacy. So start with that scorecard, see how you went. And then let's get into this chapter. So what's this chapter about? It's simply about asking yourself the hard things. We often look to people and tell people about our experiences or our plans in hope that they give us a pat on the back, and just confirm that what we're doing is good. And I see this every day in what I do. People come to me not for advice. They come for me just simply to shake their hand and say, yeah, what you want to do is great. But the reality is you don't know what you don't know. And most of us overemphasize our skill set in the financial space. And that's why so many Australians are shit house at it. And that's bluntly how we are. We are shit house at it, And I give you the example that this is how property has become so popular in Australia. Now, let me clarify that I love property, and property is a great way to build wealth the right way. However, it's not the best way, and it's not the only way as far as dollar for dollar value goes. But we are so bad with money in Australia that we think the best way to get ahead is to over leverage and be forced to save into something. That's simply what it is. You look at the people that you look up to have done really well with property. The only reason they've done so well with property is because they had a forced saving strategy there. It's not that property's returns are great. When you take away the net effect and stuff, they are far behind shares, and there's a lot more risk and leverage that goes behind it. But that's not about this chapter. The end of the idea of this chapter is to show you that is how bad we are with money. We think the best way to get ahead is by having a forced saving structure in place because we're so shit with it that we'd otherwise spend it. Okay. So you need to ask yourself these hard questions today to really, really break down your wall and break down that barrier between you and actual success by making sure that you're being real with yourself, right? You don't need to be, you can fake it to other people if you want. I hate the fake it till you make it kind of shit, but if you want to fake it, go ahead, but at least be real with yourself. So let's start with some of these questions. The first question is, who are you? Okay. Now you might be thinking this is a bit motivational. This is a bit too much. No, money is mostly psychology. Being good with money means mostly being good with psychology and matching your money plan to your psychological profile. Now, when I say who are you, think about that deeply, right? Who are you? Not just on a surface, like your name, date of birth, that kind of bullshit, but who are you? What are you doing here? What do you want to be? Who do you want to be, right? Everyone goes on these money journeys and just chases those zeros. And people say, oh, money changes people. It doesn't really. It just gives you the opportunity to come out as whoever you really were going to be at the start. So I always say you need to be happy without money to be happy with money. And that's very true, right? And money's not going to shape you to be the person you want to be. You need to do that and then let money help you enhance on those levels, right? So who are you? Who do you want to be, right? What kind of person do you want to be? You need to figure this out before you start chasing money, because if you just keep chasing zeros and hustling and doing the things that I guess people think are the right things with money, you're going to end up in a bad spot. You're going to end up in a bad spot. Yeah, you have more money, but you're probably going to have bad habits. And you're probably going to have a bad mindset. And when you have a bad mindset and lots of money, things can go south really, really quickly. So it's important that you start asking yourself, who are you? Who do you want to be? Okay. Then you need to ask yourself, when are you going to start? Right? When are you going to start, and when do you want this? When do you want to become the person you want to try to become, or When are you going to start working towards that? Because if you probably look at it and you write down a list of who you are right now versus who you want to be, or the life you want to live, that kind of stuff, you're definitely, there's a good chance you're not doing any of the habits that associate with becoming that person. So when are you going to start? Are you just going to keep manifesting? Are you just going to keep hoping that it happens? Or are you going to make a change? You see in the by the way, this corner over here, to change the way you feel, you need to change the way you think, right? We have another quote here at Three Kings that we always talk about, which is, if you want things to change, you need to change things. So when are you going to start? When are you going to make those changes? It's not just going to, you can't just keep winging it. It's not just going to happen. You got to make those changes. So think about it. Ask yourself that hard question. When are you really dedicated? When are you really going to stop the bullshit and start doing the right shit? Because no one can help you until you want to help yourself. You can read as many books as you want. You can pray, you can meditate, but until you start executing on change, nothing's going to happen. Next one is, what are you doing? What are you doing right now? What are you doing right now to get yourself towards that next step, or that life, or that person, or that fulfillment that you're chasing? What are you doing about it? Are you doing anything? You can have everything in the world. You have the cure to cancer. If no one uses it, what does it really cure? Fuck all, right? So you need to make sure that you understand, what are you doing right now? And if it's not aligned to where you want to be and who you want to be, change it. Stop doing all the things that aren't achieving that, and start doing more things that will. Next thing is, how are you doing it? Okay. So how are you doing what you're doing? Are you doing shit based on what someone down the road told you? Are you doing shit the way that you read in a book? Are you doing shit by theory only? How are you doing it? Are you just manifesting? Or you actually got a plan you've written out in front of you and you're taking step-by-step approach? Remember, the most important part is to get the wheels rolling. The hardest part about pushing a car is getting it started. After that, it's easy to take a left or right. Execution is all that matters. Execution is all that matters. So how are you doing it? Are you writing plan after plan, or task list after task list? Are you writing a task list to write a task list? Figure out the next best step in front of you, and let's take it. Take that fucking step. Let's go. And let's make sure that along the way, we are doing things that align to us. You can take as many lessons from everyone around you, and you should, but you don't need to copy someone. You don't need to do it the way they told you, because that's what worked for them. You need to figure out how to do things in a way that aligns to what you want to do, in a way that you want to do it so it's enjoyable. Remember, the man that enjoys walking is going to walk further than the person who enjoys the destination. Figure out how you can enjoy the journey. You'll go much further that way than you will just focusing on the outcomes. Next one is, where you're going right now. What you're doing and how you're doing it, what direction is that sending you in, right? It's all well and good, people. Most people's money journey is similar to turning up to an airport and just buying the next ticket, right? Yeah, I want to go overseas. You want to go to Greece, but you go to the airport and just jump on the next plane because planes go to Greece. But does this plane go to Greece? You don't know that, right? Just jumping on without any direction, you end up further away from your goal than where you started. So you need to make sure that you can align what track you're on now and make those changes to start getting towards, or at least take the first step closer to what you're trying to achieve. You need to ask yourself these questions, not to start executing right now, but to understand and paint a picture of where you're standing right now. We've got some tools later on to help you with that as well. Then probably the most important question here is, why are you doing it? And why are you here? What is it that you want out of this? What is it that you want out of everything? Are you conscious about it? Do you know? Or are you just desperately hoping for some help? Why are you doing what you're doing? And why do you want to change that? It's one of the biggest questions we can have here, right? Is, why are you here? Is it just because someone told you should? Deep down, what is it that you are trying to achieve? Why are you here, and what do you want out of this? That's a really, really important question. Then we've got some more specific things that we want, right? So what I want you to think about here in this section is, and we've got a document attached to this called the breakthrough call session, right? And you can go and answer these questions yourself, and you can sort of paint a picture for yourself. What is your biggest financial frustration right now? What is it? What do you find frustrating you the most? And you might say debt. You might say, income. I want you to think deeper than that. Why? Why is that the biggest frustration? What is it that debt is stopping you from getting to? Why is it that not enough income? What is the deeper root cause or root problem to your biggest financial frustration? And why? Why do you feel like that's your biggest frustration? Because debt and pay off debt, you'll get there, right? What is it the root cause? Is it making you feel, it gives you no hope? You don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. You feel too pressured in, you feel constricted, feel like you're never going to, like, what is it? Why is that frustration your biggest frustration? And the next one is, what do you think that you need help with the most right now? If you could pick one thing to help you in your financial situation, what do you think it is right now? And write down why you think you need help with that the most. Then there's a section that you can do some goals. Okay, so I want you to put in some specifics around housing, travel, luxury items, business plans, that kind of stuff. Set up yourself with some more specific goals to work through there. Then I want you to make some notes. And this is where we get really brutal. So firstly, are you happy right now? Are you genuinely happy? And I want you to think of this in a way that, people like to talk about, the good and bad money habits. They don't exist. There's no such thing as good and bad money habits, right? I've worked with people in, millionaires in the city who do on paper what you would all call good money habits, and they're fucking miserable. They hate their lives, but on paper, they're doing all the right things. I've met some people out in the West, some tradies who finish work, go home, sink a case of piss, maybe do some drugs, wake up the next day and repeat that every day. And they are genuinely happy. Now, do I condone that? No. Do I tell you that's what you need to do? No, I don't. But who are we to say what's the right and wrong thing to do? It's all about whether or not you're fulfilled and you're happy. So are you happy right now? Are you happy on the journey you're on? And do you think chasing zeros is the right way to go about it? It's not. So let's figure out, what do we need to change to be happy? Because that's the first most important thing. Then the next part is, are you fulfilled? Are you fulfilled at work? Are you fulfilled at home? Is the current structure you've got right now fulfilling you? If it's not, and there's a difference between happiness and fulfillment. Happiness, you can be happy day to day and still trying to find that purpose or that fulfillment. Fulfillment to me is that nice balance of money, lifestyle, and health, right? You have those three balances in order, and you can be pretty fulfilled in life doing whatever you're doing. So are you fulfilled? What do you feel like you've got the biggest shortfall on right now to become fulfilled? Next thing is, do you enjoy what you're doing? Do you enjoy your lifestyle? Do you enjoy whatever you're doing for your health? Do you enjoy whatever you're doing for your money? Yes, no? If you don't enjoy it, what's the fucking point? Now, a lot of people want to sit there and say you should save and you should do this and you should put your money away for the future. What if you never make it there? Again, the person who enjoys the journey is going to get further than the person who enjoys the destination. Facts. FAX. Next thing is there something else you should be doing? Is there something that's been tickling away at you forever that you really are too scared to do? It could be, again, could be money, could be health, could be lifestyle, whatever it is. Is there something else that you should be doing that could dramatically change the answer to your questions above? There might be a few things. Make some notes on them. The next one is the trade-off worth it? Is the current trade-off of whatever you're doing and the outcome you have worth it? You're doing a 9 to 5 and you're miserable. Is it worth whatever the outcome you're achieving is? You might not make it to the outcome if you keep being that miserable. So is the trade-off worth it? On the positive side, if we make the switch, if we do something else and we try and become fulfilled, is that trade-off going to be worth it? It might be extra hours. It might be extra hours doing something you love though. It might be extra hours doing something you don't love to generate a bit more money to put into a holiday fund, which is going to be worth it. Is the trade-off of everything you're doing worth it? Assess everything. Assess everything in your life and understand whether the trade-off, the risk versus reward, is worth the outcome. If it's not, make a note of it. Let's change it. Now, looking at all those answers to those questions, do you think things need to change? The answer is no. That's fine. See you later. Good on you. Go on, jog on, have fun. The answer is yes. Let's keep going. Let's change things. Because like I said, for things to change, you need to change things. And this is where it can start. So look at the scorecard. Look at the answers to those questions. Look at the breakthrough call. Do you think things need to change? If so, how many things need to change? Let's get cracking, because at the end of the day, it starts with you. Starts with you to break that cycle for your family, for yourself, for this whole process. This is a start to break the cycle. It starts with you. So don't quit now. Get all those questions answered, jot them down, read them over, let them sink in. And let's move on to chapter 3.